I have a scholarship program, Annie, but I keep attracting the people who are not what I want to, they're not the ones who I'm targeting. Perhaps I'm targeting Black, Indigenous, and people of color. They're not the ones who are applying. I'm getting other people applying. How do I make it so that is the case?
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Welcome to Represented, the podcast. I'm Aniki Shuru, racial equity coach for online business owners who want to be intentionally inclusive by building a business that is racially equitable. I created this podcast to normalize a conversation around racial inclusion so that fear is no longer the barrier that gets in the way of doing this work. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Whether you're taking your first steps or you're well-versed in the journey towards racial equity, this space is for you. So welcome home, friend. Let's get started.
From coast to coast, around the globe, we are represented.
Do you know the one thing inclusive businesses have in common? They have an inclusion statement. And not just any statement, my friend. It's a personal, authentic statement that takes you on a journey. A statement woven with story that paints such a clear picture of who they are as a human that you can't help but take a step closer to their brand and their mission. I know firsthand what it means to read an inclusion statement where I feel so seen and welcome even before I have spoken to the business owner. That's why I want to teach you the art of putting together a powerful inclusion statement from scratch that will leave your right fit clients with no doubt of what you stand for and how your space is the space that allows them to feel welcome, regardless of how they identify. Now, I've put together two of my in-demand workshops, the Inclusion Statement Workshop and the Scholarship Immersion Experience. I'm calling it the Inclusion Bundle, where you only pay for one, but you get both. This is only available for the month of November in honor of Black Friday. If you've ever wanted to create an inclusion statement for your business but don't know where to start, or create a scholarship program to serve those who may not have the access to work with you right now, the Inclusion Bundle is for you. Head over to anikishuru.thrivecart.com/bundle to grab both of these workshops for the price of one. The link is in the show notes.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Represented Podcast. Did you enjoy last week's episode? It was a solo episode. I thoroughly enjoyed myself delivering that to you. It was on why inclusive brands make this statement a priority. That statement, my friend, is an inclusion statement. If you haven't listened yet, I highly recommend that when you're done with this one, that you go back and listen, because the gems, the information that I have dropped in there, you need to know, especially if you're an online business owner. And so today is all about scholarships, and I am sharing the truth about scholarship programs and digging into the errors that coaches keep making. And I've kind of rounded this out to 5. There are a number of others, but I just wanted to leave you with some that will stay with you, and perhaps the ones that I feel will be most relevant to you when it comes to creating scholarship programs. Now, scholarship programs, say 4 or so years ago, was a very popular thing for online business owners to do. It was perhaps the easiest way, and I say easiest with air quotes, to show that they are inclusive by saying, look, I offer scholarships, I'm making my work accessible to those who might be going through financial hardship, and in particular, targeting people who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color who have those added challenges and barriers that come with how they identify. But the thing is, when it comes to creating a successful scholarship program that is filled with integrity, there are a number of things that are missing. And for those who did it in that way of wanting to quickly tick a box, found that how they had created their scholarship program wasn't sustainable. And the people they were attracting were not necessarily the people that they wanted to, in the first place, get the scholarship. And so, one of the things that you need to understand very first and foremost is, why are you creating a scholarship program? Are you doing it because, number one, you are seeing others in the industry doing it? Have you seen somebody you admire? Have you seen the people that you follow doing this and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to do this. This is the standard, so to speak. And so I want to be part of this standard. I don't want to be not keeping up with the Joneses again, so to speak. And so I should be doing what the people I follow, admire, and like and trust are doing. But really think about it. That is not being genuine. That is to some extent being performative, because do you have what it takes to hold space when it comes to scholarship recipients? Because having a scholarship program isn't just a done and dusted thing. There's a whole process that comes with it, which I'll be sharing a little bit about as I keep discussing. But what is your why? If it's because you've seen somebody else doing it, that's possibly being performative. It's not genuine. It's not going to last. It's not going to be sustainable. And in the end, it might leave you with a bad taste in your mouth, and you don't want that. The other thing, reason for creating a scholarship program could be because accessibility is something that's really important to you. And you know you have a great business that offers great services, but you keep attracting people at a certain level and you're not reaching others, perhaps of a different demographic, who are still right fit clients. And so you've excluded them unknowingly. And this is your path of being more inclusive. And that's your key, the main motivator here is you want to be accessible. The third reason could be I just want to serve. I may not have a business that is generating, X amount of figures yet, but I just feel so drawn to serve. I'm not at that stage where I feel like I want to offer so many pro bono sessions. I still need to get paid. I have a business that I'm running. I still need to keep the doors of my business open, but I want to serve, and offering scholarship opportunities is a great way for me to reach those who I otherwise wouldn't be able to reach. And so that wanting to be of service, wanting to serve. And a lot of times, what you will realize when it comes to having a scholarship program, sometimes, most of the times, it requires you to be earning a certain amount in your business so that having a scholarship program actually makes sense financially. And so be very clear on your intention of having a scholarship program. Why are you doing it? Because your why will sustain the scholarship program that you create. And of course, over time, you will review that, you will update it, and you will keep renewing it to the point where it's operating based on the current times. What you had 4 years ago is not going to serve you right now. How do you need to review that and update it in a way that it speaks to the kind of people that you're serving right now and is also aligned with your values? I want to caution, however, that when it comes to creating a scholarship program, please do not create one if you haven't done the work of being trauma informed and understanding the systems of exclusion and oppression. I'll say that again. Do not create a scholarship program if you haven't done the work of being trauma informed and understanding the systems of exclusion and oppression. Because if you haven't done that work, what is likely to happen is you are attracting people who have gone through um, things in their life where they have been excluded. They have gone through different forms of oppression. They have experienced trauma at a certain level. And if you're not able to have that understanding, that awareness, and the sensitivity to hold space for them, chances are you are inviting them into a space that could cause more harm. And so, do not create a scholarship program if you haven't done work around being trauma informed, because this program that you're creating could just be something that re-triggers their trauma. So be careful about that. And I have seen this happen not on one occasion. I've seen it happen on many occasions. I have had people share with me, scholarship recipients, who have said, I have gone into this space and this is what I found. What they have said they are doesn't align with the kind of space that I was a part of. And for me, it just made things worse. And so do not create a scholarship program if you haven't done any work of being trauma informed. And so now let's talk about the 5 errors coaches keep making. Number one is offering a scholarship opportunity at the end of a launch. So if you are a coach and you have a launch model business and you have an open door and a closed door and you're selling during that point in time, and then you get towards the end, and for whatever reason, maybe you have sold enough spaces and you want to give back and you want to offer people who perhaps may not be financially able to pay full to come in through scholarship. Or maybe it could be because you haven't sold enough. And this is your way of making it accessible by using the term, scholarship program so that you're able to sell a few more spots. Here's the thing. If you're offering scholarships at the end or towards the end of your launch, it really comes across as though the people you're targeting are from the leftover economy. Like, this is leftovers. We're just giving you, you're a second thought. You were not the priority when we were launching this. We were here for people who were going to pay in full and people who really have the means to pay. And now that we have done that, it has been successful or not as successful as we hoped it to be. Now, you're our focus, and we want you to apply for a scholarship. It just doesn't come across well. It doesn't come across as though you're doing this with integrity. If anything, it comes across as, oh, look, we're trying to do the right thing and we're considering you people, but this is where you rank. This is where you fall. And as somebody who has been a scholarship recipient, I have to say that afterthought, that watching the launch and going through that, oh, wow, this is so pricey, trying to figure out how can I make this work, doing the figures and the numbers. And in some cases, making it work and then realizing, oh, there was a scholarship opportunity, but that wasn't shared from the beginning. And so I've stretched myself in ways that I didn't need to do. And I fit the criteria of being a scholarship recipient, but I've already made this commitment that is going to stretch me in a way that it shouldn't have. And so having that transparency from the very beginning is so important. And also, if you're somebody who is really operating a business from integrity, these are the things that you should be thinking about. I've had clients and good friends and peers in the industry who we've had sessions and they've gone like, this is what I always do. I didn't know Annie, that this is how it can be perceived. I didn't know that this is what it was making other potential scholarship recipients feel. And if anything, we thought that we were doing the right thing. And so this is why it's so important as you are doing or dealing with matters to do with inclusion, take the time to consult. Who are you learning from? Who can you get in touch with or have a consultation with? Who can guide you through this process? So you're not just guessing or perhaps looking to see what are others doing. Let me do exactly that. It may not come across that way. And again, could carry its potential of harmfulness. The second mistake that I see is not asking the right questions in the application process. And I'm saying this assuming that you have an application process, that you're not just saying, hey, we have a scholarship program available now, just send me an email. I'm hoping that you actually have a scholarship application process. And in that process, you are asking really considered questions, the kind of questions where the questions you're asking are giving you the answers that are helping you make a decision as to whether this would be the right person to receive this scholarship. I have heard people share that I have a scholarship program, Annie, but I keep attracting the people who are not what I want to, they're not the ones who I'm targeting. Perhaps I'm targeting Black, Indigenous people of color. They're not the ones who are applying. I'm getting other people applying. How do I make it so that is the case? It all comes down to the kind of questions that you have in the application process to determine who might be the best person or who is the right fit for this scholarship opportunity that I have. Number three, making the application process a competition. I remember a few years back being part of a challenge or a boot camp, and this very seasoned coach ran a really great launch. And towards the end, again, like era number one that I was talking about, offering scholarship opportunities towards the end of the launch. In this case, it was a competition, and it wasn't done in terms of the application process, wasn't done confidentially, which it should be done. It was done in a way whereby, you know, tell us why you think you should receive a scholarship opportunity for this particular offer. And it was to be done in a Facebook group where you shared. And it was, I don't know how they were determining who got this scholarship, but it felt like it was based on your how compelling your story was. And by compelling is like how desperate are you? And it just gave off this vibes of humiliation. Like you're almost really reducing yourself and saying, this is what I'm going through. You're making it's publicly available. And it's based on now people, not the people in the group voting, but the admin. They're the ones who are determining, oh, is this compelling enough for us to give you that scholarship opportunity? That's in bad taste, making it a competition. It should never be a competition. So bear that in mind. Maybe you've seen this happen and you've thought, oh, this looks like fun. Maybe I should do that for my next launch. It is not the right thing to do. It's humiliating. And if you can, always put yourself in the position of the other person and see, as a scholarship recipient, as somebody who's applying for a scholarship, how might this feel for them? Number four, the lack of interaction with scholarship recipients. So I often see scholarships being dished out, scholarships recipients come in and being treated less than. Like, oh, y'all came through the scholarship, and there's a different way with which they're interacted with. It's like I don't have much time for you. I have more time for those who are fully paying. Or in the reverse, somebody has come in as a scholarship recipient, they're feeling like, I don't want to occupy too much space. I have heard uh, people tell me, particularly those who are Black, Indigenous people of color, I just felt like I didn't want to take up too much space, Annie. And so uh, I was struggling in a certain area. I couldn't ask questions. I just didn't want to feel like I was pulling everyone back. And particularly if these are people with marginalized identities, there are certain areas in that they're working through that might take longer than those who don't have those marginalized identities. And so how best placed are you to support them? What kind of interaction are you having with scholarship recipients? Are you checking up on them? Are you checking up to see how they're tracking? Is there anything they might be going through that perhaps they're not able to bring up publicly in the calls, in the group coaching calls? Is there, or are you seeing how they're tracking? Are they accessing the program material? Are they, watching the videos? Are they progressing with the program that you have? And I know this sounds like extra work, and you're like, oh, everybody's self-led, they're sovereign, they're in charge, we shouldn't have to do this. But putting a scholarship program in place and doing it with integrity and supporting the people who need this the most comes with an extra level of responsibility. And if this is something that you're not ready to do yet, then you should really consider, is this a time for me to have and put a scholarship program out there? Because if you really want it to be successful, if you want your scholarship recipients to feel valued, to feel respected, to really feel welcome and served, there are extra steps that you need to take. There's an extra level of responsibility you need to give for that to happen. And number five, the error that I see coaches make is not having an inclusion statement. Now, in last week's episode, I spoke about the importance of an inclusion statement, the ability to articulate your values. Your values of inclusion. Why is this important to you? It really allows people to get to know you, clients, to potential clients, right fit clients who are values aligned, to really connect with you and your values. In my very recent group coaching call right now in my program, my signature program Represented, we're going through module 3, and this is all about conscious inclusion. And right now, I am teaching the students in there how to write inclusion statements in a way that is original, compelling, it is vulnerable, and just allows them to say who they really are in a way that they haven't before by amplifying their values of inclusion. And one of the participants had written hers down. She had a draft and she said, Annie, can I read this out for you? And I was like, sure, of course, and read it to the group. And in the process of doing that, she got choked up and she was like, I don't know why I'm tearing up, but I feel so emotional reading this. And she said, it's one thing to write it down, to write my values and to try and put the right sentences together, but it gave off a different feeling when I read it out. The sentiments, the emotion that I was filled with as I said the things that are important to me. It is important that I see people who come from racially diverse backgrounds represented, having grown up in a background where I saw so much segregation. That didn't sit with me. And so, with the work that I'm doing as a coach and this being my values, I want to ensure that people who have these identities are well represented. And she just said, she didn't expect to feel that way. She didn't expect the process to feel so emotional. And that was such a powerful exercise as she read it out to us. And I reflected back what she said and I just held space for her. I couldn't help but feel the amount of people who would be going through her website, reading that, and just feeling some kind of tagging on their heart and just a connection and going like, wow, I haven't seen that before. And how these inclusion statements are written, they're written in such a way that they're so personal. There is no opportunity to copy and paste because we know we have a lot of people who see things and like, oh, you have an inclusion statement. I'll just take bits and pieces out of that. There is no way you can do that because this is so personal and you're so drawn into this person's journey that as a potential client, you're like, wow, this could be the person for me, allows them to take steps closer to you in your business. And when you have one, as you're creating a scholarship program, it just allows people to get to know you a little bit better and to understand what you stand for and to be able to make a decision as to are you the person that they would like to apply and have that scholarship opportunity with. Because trust me when I say this, there are many Black, Indigenous, and people of color who see scholarship programs, but they go like, I know for a fact that that space is not safe for me. So whilst it all looks great, and I would love to have that kind of, to be part of that kind of program, I know the support I will be getting will not be able to fully hold me in who I am. And so maybe you're hearing all this and you're like, wow, Annie, I didn't know all those things. I thought putting a scholarship program together was just making it accessible, just having something that is accessible for people who are marginalized to have access, and that's it. No, there is so much more to it. And remember, because of the ease in putting together a scholarship program, comes across as such an easy tick box thing to say, yeah, I have a scholarship program. Anybody who applies has the opportunity to, not anybody, but we have a process, and anyone who wants to apply can apply. And, we make the decision as to who gets that, but it's available for those who would like to apply. Um, this having a process that is full of integrity and care and steps that ensure that we're putting the scholarship recipients before anything. It's not about you and the business and how it makes you look, but you're actually taking the time to be very intentional about the space that you're putting together and for those recipients when they come through, what they will experience within your space. So if you're hearing all this and you're feeling like, oh, it's a little bit daunting, I don't know if I'm at that stage of creating a scholarship program, but possibly I will be one day. Or maybe you're going like, I don't know if I can create a scholarship program that is not performative. I feel like some of the things that you've raised here, I feel like I may be falling on that path of I might come across as being performative. And of course, I don't want that to be the case. Can I really create a scholarship program that is inclusive and has scholarship recipients in mind? Absolutely, you can. And I've got you. And this is the main reason I created a workshop called the Scholarship Immersion Experience. And this basically teaches you how to create a successful and supportive scholarship program for people of color. This is a workshop that is about 3 hours long, and it teaches you what a scholarship program really is, what it is not, how to know if it is the best fit for you and your business goals right now so that you can implement racial diversity and inclusion into your business in a way that feels aligned and to support the people who need it most. It helps you equip yourself to hold space for scholarship recipients, those who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And it also gives you the steps to creating that successful scholarship program so that you can attract, you can serve, and convert right fit, heart-led clients. Now, this is ready for you to access right now for my Black Friday offer, where you will get this workshop on scholarships as well as another workshop teaching you how to write an inclusion statement. Remember in the beginning how I spoke about an inclusion statement and how last week I shared about that? So you're getting a workshop on how to create a successful scholarship program as well as how to write a really incredible inclusion statement. Now, I am calling this the inclusion bundle, and you can grab the link from the show notes where you are paying for one workshop, but you're getting two workshops. This is valid until the end of November 30. So if I were you, my friend, I'd be racing over to the link to grab the inclusion bundle.
We are represented. We are represented. We are represented.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review so this podcast can reach more online business owners, and together we can begin to normalize racial inclusion in the online coaching space. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where this podcast episode was recorded, the Wiradjuri people in central New South Wales, Australia. Music produced in Nairobi, Kenya by Patrick St. P. Mbaru and Kambua Mathu. Vocals by Joanne Matata.